Does the dock brief system still work? Is it still there?
No, since 1948, anybody in
That's moved up,
anybody is
Picking off a bench, no wrong.
doesn't happen.
But since 1948?
Yeah.
I think John Mortimer should have known that, because this play is set in 1957.
It is.
Actually, I'm not doing it anymore.
Yes, but because Morgan Hall lives in the past, doesn't he? He's just...
That's true. Perhaps he's just been sitting there since 1948.
Probably.
And reform.
The other thing that I think would be interesting to discuss is the comparison between fictional courtroom dramas and real courtroom dramas. Is there any relationship between, say, I don't know, Silk, which is the most recent, I suppose, and the reality of it? There's a bit of a wry smile on your face there.
If you want the honest truth?
Yeah, the honest
No.
truth. None at all.
None at all. Silk is probably about as far away from real life as it's possible.
In what respect?
In the sense that everything appears to be exaggerated and some of the processes and procedures that you see don't actually take place.
Oh, I thought that was supposed to be one of the good ones. What about, Rumpole himself? Do you remember Rumpole?
I do remember Rumpole. Leo McKern. Wonderful role model for every barrister, I think. Especially when he goes down to the Wig and Pen, or what was Pomeroy's in the TV series, which is actually a real place called the Wig and Pen on Fleet Street.
Yeah.
And he always orders Chateau Thames, which is the house red, which is the house red, and that still goes on today.
Because Mark, you're a great fan of Rumpole, aren't you?
I am a great fan of Rumpole, I have to. Yeah, and I actually, it's got nothing to do with this, but I know Leo McKern's daughter. So
Whose daughter?
Leo McKern.
Who's he?
Never mind, Val. You'll find out. Yes, I am a fan. I used to love it, and in fact, it's very interesting because sometimes I do some role play at the London Law School where they train young barristers to get their silks or whatever you call it.
Tweedy would get a job there.
Oh, definite, absolutely definite. But it is amazing. They bring in a lot of barristers from different countries, hoping to be able to qualify here. But they aren't, on the whole, very good. But when you see a proper barrister stand up and actually say and conduct the case, because I do sort of reenactments of cases and I'd be a witness or whatever I am, and you see a proper barrister stand up, they are incredibly clever and they're able to twist anything you say instantly, or they'll just keep you talking and then repeat it all back in a different way but trap you. No, I'm full of admiration.
The lights didn't work properly and I had no insurance on the car. And I got away with all of it.
How?
Well, I don't know, it just...
Did you went to court with it?
Yeah, and it just kind of turned into a bit of a performance. And they were all laughing, and then they went out to make the decision, and I hid.
When was it? Was this recently?
That was about 5 years ago.
So you were Tweedy then?
Yeah, I didn't know.
There's no plea, is it?
Under section of the Manchester Road Traffic Act.
Exactly.
Well, my barrister got me on.
Because his barrister, they thought, wasn't up to it and wasn't doing enough for the lad. In fact, the judge was helping more than anything else, and he had to keep prompting.
Does that ever happen?
No,
Ever come across that?
And he said, and so in the end,
Rings a bell, though, actually.
yeah. And in the
I
end,
didn't mean you personally.
he just said, the jury felt so sorry for the defence. A little, yeah. Your friend was telling me last night.
So effectively, the Crown didn't prove his case, so he deserved to get off.
Yeah.
Deserved to be found not guilty.
So how realistic would be this situation here?
It is a ground of appeal if your counsel is so incompetent that you haven't had a fair trial.
Yes.
Then you can appeal, you get fresh legal representation and you say I need another trial because the first one was so unfair because my barrister was incompetent.
Does that happen often?
It's only happened to me twice.
He has, and you can't let him lie to the court, and nor can you lie to the court on his behalf. But you can just make sure that there is enough reliable evidence to convict him. If he says, I've done it, you say, well, your best option then is to plead guilty and ask for a more merciful approach from the court. But if he says, well, I want a trial anyway, then you can have a trial to that extent. Or then you have a choice whether you go through that process. If you're arrested and charged with an offence, then you don't have any choice. You have to go through a trial. And the quid pro quo of that is that nobody convicts, and sound like a jury speaks, nobody convicts anybody of an offence unless they're sure of his guilt. And that's the balance that we get. That's why it is beyond reasonable doubt, because nobody can opt out of a criminal trial if they're charged with an offence. They have to go through with it.
But one always thinks that the idea of not guilty is saying, I'm innocent.
Not necessarily so.
No, but that's what just perhaps a layman would think. A claim of innocence.
It just says that the defendant, he may believe himself to be not guilty of proven.
Did you plead guilty or not guilty to your caravan offence?
Oh, guilty, yeah. But I had a few excuses as well.
Mitigated, yeah.
Yeah. It was a drunken Russians in the back.
I think we can open it up. Any questions, either of a legal nature, or of a clowning nature, or of an acting nature?
Or of a personal nature.
Or of a personal nature.
No.
No, okay. No, come on. Must be somebody who'll get the ball rolling. Yes?
Do you think a televised trial in any way changes the way that the legal system works? You say that the general public wants sensationalism, and that's probably true.
I don't think it necessarily changes the way the legal system works. I think it changes the perception of the legal system, which is dangerous. Because every man should have the right, as Tweedy did, to plead not guilty or guilty to whatever they face as a charge. If you believe yourself to be not guilty, or even if you know yourself to be guilty but want to present the not guilty plea, then you have an opportunity to do that. I think television strips away that because it polarises things. It makes it either black or white, and it also makes it about whether you like Tweedy or not, whether you like his face, whether he presents as an attractive character. It shouldn't matter whether he's an attractive character or not, whether he looks the part or not. Television reduces it to image rather than facts.
But what about justice being seen to be done?
I've got no fear of the trial being televised at all. I just think it would be terribly tedious if you actually sat and watched a complete day of a jury trial.
But you say it's duty to defend, but is it never the case that you would refuse to represent somebody?
No, that's not possible.
Can't.
We have a principle at the bar called the cab rank rule, where if somebody comes to you and says, I have a case, and that means that anybody who's charged with an offence will have representation, regardless of how appalling the allegations are, because sometimes they may not be given.
Do you fancy being on a jury?
Yeah, I'll give that a go.
Would you
It's
behave yourself?
interesting. The question I was going to ask you is...
One of the first things I said to him was, do you ever fancy doing straight play, straight acting? And he said, do you fancy doing Samuel Beckett, which he would be very good. So we've had this thing between us for the last 4 or 5 years, sort of mulling it over quietly. Yeah. And the pantomime here last year, I've known Mark for 4 or 5 years as well. And I don't know, it just sort of gelled, and I said, well, let's do it now.
Should we do?
And Mark, I wanted Mark on board. There are limitations in this space. You can't have a cast of thousands. It's got to be kept small, one for the size and 2 for the finances. So I wanted to do a two-hander. So I had these 2 guys. And there's surprisingly few plays for 2 guys, one is slightly middle-aged, one slightly less than middle-aged. Very much less than middle-aged. Work out which if you're separate. And it boiled down to 2 plays. There was this one, and there was a play by Edward Albee, who wrote Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, called Zoo Story. And for a time, Zoo's Story was in the running, because we
Yeah.
all thought that Zoo's Story it wasn't a comedy. And we thought that would be a really good one to go with. But we couldn't get the rights, and we couldn't get the rights because Edward Albee he'd restructured the play. It started out as a one actor. And one-act plays are always difficult to put on main houses. People have said to us, oh, this is fantastic, why don't you put it in the main house? You can't put a play that only runs for just over an hour in a main house. And that was the problem that Zoo's Story had. So the author, Edward Albee, tacked a bit on the beginning to make it a full-length play.
Tweedy, do you think you'll be giving up Gifford Circus and taking it back to...
No.
But do you fancy doing more? I mean, have you enjoyed this? Is it something you would like to continue? Or is it just
I'll
a
tell
one-off?
you on Saturday night.
Mhm.
I am enjoying it so far, but yeah, I've only done 2 so far.
Mm.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I just want to ask actually regarding the Zoo Story, who would have been who, Jerry or?
I was going to be the one that stabbed him.
Were you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
One's
yeah,
got a lot more lines.
Yeah.
I can't remember the
Well, I
name.
can't remember the names
It's
either.
not. It's a current really.
Yeah, he was the murderer.
Yeah.
And what happened was, it's going to go a bit boring for us if they don't know the play. But it's basically, the story is 2 guys meet on a park bench in Central Park in New York. And one of them, this one, is a bit weird, I think that's what you can say.
Yeah.
But what happened, when they rewrote it, or when he added the first bit on, it completely changed the play. Because the first act became about the other guy and his and it was a domestic scene, and he was round with his wife. And the reason he was sitting on the park bench is because he had a row with his wife. So the play became completely about him, and the other character was sort of incidental, almost. It completely changed it, so that's why we didn't do it.
I could have played his wife. I never thought of
Oh, Tweedy! You never said.
That would have been quite good, actually.
Yeah, too late now. Another
It
time.
was never too late.
Right, any more? Because if not, I think our time is up.